Welcome to Deep Discussions Live and Learn podcast. Thank you for tuning in and thank you for continuing to support Deep Discussions ever changing mission, which is now inspiration for a better tomorrow. And thank you for helping me in that mission of inspiring and being an encouragement to those who may need some kind of uplifting. Um, your support, your following of my messages is always appreciated. And it's one of the things that keeps my platform continuing to grow each and every day. So I thank you and hope that you find some inspiration in today's message, which is entitled "What's My Calling." And as you know, I like to start every episode off with a poem that I wrote, and this one is entitled "Redial." Telephone rings, potential spam. Won't get me with a scam. They call again, just one number off. Now I'm staring at a loss. Hours later, calling again, but I'm gone. Are they that pressed to sell me wrong? Next go round, I answered the phone, intending to say, leave me alone. Sorry, wrong number. Wait, yeah, that's my name. Oh, you must have me mistaken for someone with fame. Why are you calling? What do you need? Let me guess, you're looking for a lead. Why call if I'm not interested? Not answering the call, yet you insisted. On false information, you were reliant. I asked questions, now you want to be silent. When met with an offer not worth your while, it's okay to contest. Bet they won't redial. I hope that poem speaks to you in some kind of way. Pretty much what I did there was connect out calling with getting a call from a phone. And again, this segment is entitled "What's My Calling?" Um, and this topic or this title came up to me when this was a while ago. I think of these things well in advance, but what I can remember thinking about or reflecting on when I put together this episode was pretty much my career and how far I've come. Because sometimes, I'm so used to every time I get to a certain point in my career, always knowing what I want my next move to be. And I always have a couple of things lined up. It's always like one ultimate goal, but sometimes I say, all right, if I can't get there right away, I at least want to, gradually get there. But the thing about it is, before I got to the position I'm in now, I thought it was going to take me probably at that point, this was 2021 when I started this position. So I thought it was going to take me at least another 3 or 4 years before I got to the role that I'm in now. So I pretty much had it set up like, okay, right now I'm an underwriter. Eventually I'm going to have to be like I'm going to have to either be a senior underwriter, a lead underwriter, something of that magnitude. And then I'll have to get into maybe underwriting management of some sort. But eventually I was offered a risk manager position, which was my long-term goal since I began my career. And I think, one of the things I learned about discovering your calling is, one, don't limit yourself and think that, okay, my long-term goal is to be a doctor, but that's probably going to take me 20 or 30 years to become. So let me create all of these steps in between. Always keep your eye on the prize and be ready for it when it comes because you never know when it's going to come. And don't think, sometimes think even bigger than that. Think even bigger than being a doctor. Say, oh, instead of just being a doctor, maybe I can, start my own practice, however that whole doctor stuff goes. I'm not really a medical expert. But for me, for example, again, I'm a risk manager. I'm here now and I was kind of caught up for a while wondering, all right, what's next? What do I pursue next? Because this has been my this has been my goal since since I graduated college in 2009. So it took me some time to get here. Don't get me wrong, but at the same time, I thought it was going to take more time, and I didn't properly prepare. So that's one of the skills that I will say, as you know, I'm a life skills coach, right? So one of the skills I will say is to properly prepare yourself for, the event that something may happen sooner than you expected, because we always we always, in these cases, sometimes prepare for the worst and expect, we prepare for the worst and hope for the best. And most of the times preparing for the worst, we expect the worst. But, sometimes prepare yourself for both cases, prepare yourself for the worst case scenario, but also be prepared for the best case as well. So that was actually a side note off away from what this discussion was going to be. And I'm actually glad I was encouraged to talk to you about that because that's a really good point. But today we're going to talk about how to discover and determine your calling. And calling is defined as a strong urge towards a particular way of life or career, a strong feeling or suitability for particular career or occupation. So both of those definitions really mention a lot about occupation and career. But, and don't get me wrong, this advice or this, discussion today is going to be um, relevant and relatable to your career as well. But I really want to tailor it towards life as well, to a particular way of life, because we get in a situation sometimes where we let the opinions of others dictate what we think our calling should be. And it can be both positive and negative. Some people may say, "Oh, you do a great job with, putting together ads and, making flyers." Like my wife say I do a really good job with graphic design and creating marketing stuff for my platform. But, that's never been an interest of mine. But, somebody else may hear that and be thinking, "Huh, they did say I was great at that." But what I will say is, a friend of mine, right when I actually started doing podcast, well, life coaching, um, has said to me that, um, she feels as though I live life the right way. And ever since that comment has been made, that is one of the things that is really, that's how I felt I discovered my calling. But at the same time, it was something I was interested in before she said that. She just, in my opinion, she kind of confirmed that or reaffirmed that for me. What we do sometimes is we allow what people say to determine our calling. And, you know, so how do you define your calling? I just shared with you how I define mine. Mine was defined by what I felt God called me to do. I felt what I felt it in my heart and my, what I felt was best for me to, serve other people with. How can people benefit from my presence, when, there's no pressure? Because I don't feel pressured to do life coaching. I feel inspired. I feel motivated and encouraged to do life coaching, but I don't feel pressured. So that's how I define a calling. How do you define your calling? Maybe that's an homework assignment you can do. And if you feel like sharing your feedback, where to follow me at on all of the social media channels, or you can email me. But let me continue. The whole thing of waiting for a call versus taking a call. Remember when we were younger, and even in some cases now, where we sit by the phone waiting for someone to give us a call, we what we do in that situation is we allow other things again to dictate, or other people to dictate what our calling is when we're waiting on someone, as opposed to when other opportunities may come up, we 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 ignore them because we're waiting for something else. But taking a call is leaving your options open, leaving the door open to all that you may encounter, and taking it as an opportunity to, even if it may not be what you're called to do, it could be what you're called to listen to and, gain something from. One thing that I've always been inspired about not only doing, but encouraging with and influencing other people to do, is to take every experience you have as an opportunity to equip yourself with something that's going to help you move forward, that's going to help you in the future, or even in the present. So if you're someone that's in the job market right now and you apply for two jobs, but there's one that that you want more than the other, if on a scale of 1 to 10, one is a 10 and the other one is like a 6 or a 7, don't ignore the opportunity for the one that's a 6 or a 7 to call you, and be present. Don't just take the call just because. Take the call and embrace it as an opportunity to learn something about yourself, to learn something about that space, that market, that field, that company. It's something that you can equip yourself with from a knowledge standpoint, from a perspective standpoint, and don't just limit yourself to the call that you're waiting on, but take other offers as well. The next point that I wanted to talk about was the idea of when we ignore unrecognizable phone calls. And this one, with unrecognizable calls, in this situation or in this analogy, I call them imposters that you've already turned away, or that has no idea of who you really are. They see you in one space and assume that that's how you are in other spaces. They assume that you can't compartmentalize and that you can't separate being one thing or one type of person, or you can't separate from having one responsibility to another responsibility. Prime example, if you're at work and someone feels as though you have a very strong personality, you're hard to impress, you're very critical of people, whatever the case may be. And again, I'm not beating on you directly, so I don't want anybody to think, dang, he's being awfully hard right now. But no, it's just an example. If someone feels as though you're a difficult person to work with, some people may assume, oh, because they're difficult at work, they're probably difficult at their household too. They're probably a difficult spouse, a difficult parent, a difficult friend, whatever the case may be. And that's the imposter thing with the whole unrecognizable call when it comes to your calling. When it comes to, for example, if you're a nurse, Monday through Friday, whatever hours nurses, whatever you work as a nurse, because I know they have many different types of hours. But if you're a nurse 8 to 4, 8 a.m. to 4 p.m., and you go home and you're a spouse, you're a parent, you have your parents live there with you, so obviously you're a daughter or a son. So whatever all of the many hats you wear in your household, if you're difficult at work or someone that they deem is tough to work with, and they assume that you're not equipped, you're probably a bad parent. That's the imposter thing that I'm talking about. People don't know your calling. So that goes back to people thinking they know who you are and not listening to what outside sources may say about you. And don't take everything that people say to mean gold, whether it's good or bad. Learn from it, take note of it, and ask the questions to either them or God. What is the message being portrayed here? What is being said about me? And keep them separate. So when we get those unrecognizable calls, we oftentimes ignore them because we don't know what they look. We don't know who that is. We never seen that number before. We get them numbers that. Have any of you ever had that phone number that had the same number all the way across? 777-7777 or something crazy like that. Unrecognizable calls that think that they can lure us in to buying something that we shouldn't buy, to participate in something that we shouldn't participate in, that they know we don't have any interest in. Sometimes they see things online. We took some survey, or we expressed interest in one thing. So they say, oh, that streams or connects all the way to this product over here. And they assume that you're interested in that product just because of what they've seen you show interest in another space. That's an imposter. Don't fall for it. So that's the whole segment of, talking about what's your calling. How do you discover and define your calling? Your calling is determined is predetermined when God brings you into this world. It's not determined by someone that wasn't here before God. God was here before all of us. So if you don't, if you learn how to not allow other people to influence what your quote unquote calling is, then you will make sure you make the right decisions that are best for yourself. So I really kind of, I wrote all of these points here that I have all of these points that I wrote down, but I think I did a good job of summing up most of them. But I'll just read through them just because I like to give, I really put thought into the advice, and I want to, if I have the opportunity to share something that may resonate with someone, I want to be able to share it. So if some of these things you hear me reading sound like things you may have, I may have said before, consider it either a summary of what I already said or maybe new information that may stick with you. So the first point that I wrote here is some think fate and coincidence are what classify their calling. When relying on coincidences or fate, one of two things are true. Either we still do not know our calling, or we're trying to convince ourselves that something is our calling, which still turns out to mean we do not know. The next point that I wrote was discovering your calling is something that is not planned. It just happens. It oftentimes is based on more than just what brings you joy. It's how you bring joy to others. Make sure that you underline that in your mind. It's not just what brings you joy. It's also how you bring joy to others, how you positively impact the community, and how people connect and acknowledge you on a consistent basis. That's one of the main key points that I want you to take home with you when it comes to discovering or determining your calling. Your calling oftentimes is not you phoning yourself. It usually feels more sincere when it is recognized by an external force and brought back to you. So that one is a little bit tricky, but think of it this way. If you if you feel like, let's just say you feel something is really, really important or interesting to you and you really want to see what it's about, that really goes back to the whole hobbies thing, the whole outside interest. Everything does not have to be a job or a career. And I think that that's one of the things that our society has really grown into, thinking that, one or two things, they assume one or two things. They either assume something that drives in a lot of income is their passion, or something that they're talented in should be their career. It doesn't have to always work that way. Now some are called to be in situations where something drives a lot of money. If you're a very talented salesperson and you just be driving in revenue, kudos to you. If you're someone that is a very talented singer, a very talented writer, and you're a number one seller, each and every month or each and every year, or whatever the case may be, hey, more power to you. But for those who feel as though not being a number one seller in writing means that writing is not their passion or writing is not their calling, you can have more than one calling. It just it's just a matter of, it doesn't have to always drive revenue. It does not have to always be your source of income. I'm passionate about being a life skills coach. I do not do this for revenue. I do not do this for a living. But I'm also passionate about risk management. I'm also passionate about what I do for a living. So we can have multiple callings. You can have a calling, in the workforce. You can have a calling outside the workforce. Sometimes they may cross paths, but you can have more than one calling, and it does not have to always be a career. Uh, Sometimes our calling is met with denial, but oftentimes it's a denial of things that are trivial compared to our power to make an impression when following. This one is really deep, because when I discovered or wrote this one, we sometimes denial can sometimes be doubt. And what happens is we doubt ourselves sometimes because again, like I just gave an example a minute ago, we want to be the best of the best. And we deem that as our guideline of if something is our calling. If we're not given the, you know, the Nobel Peace Prize for what it is that we think is our calling, we automatically assume, oh, maybe we aren't called to be that. Or if people aren't ringing our doorbell or calling our phone to do business with us every day or every other hour, we're not called to do it. That's not the case. It's okay to be passionate about something that, you know, people may not want to knock down your door for every single day. But when you do it, does it make you feel good? Not when you receive something from doing it, but when you do it. Because I don't always receive stuff for life coaching. I don't make money off of life coaching. I do life coaching or life skills coaching because it's something that I'm passionate about. It's something that makes me feel good. I feel good because I get to be an inspiration to others. I feel good because it's something that I enjoy learning about, studying about, and talking about. And the last point I wrote here before I segue into spiritual relief is our calling can sometimes be what cause us to battle ourselves, and can sometimes be the source of both our happiness and frustration. Just like every phone call we receive is not always the same. So that really speaks to what I just said a minute ago about our calling and how we sometimes get mad at ourselves because our calling doesn't equal to us being, you know, top of the billboards or, you know, world renowned because of it. So, or world renowned, however you say it, because of it. And that tends to be a fight with ourselves. Just live, enjoy it. If you love to do it, you have to love to learn more about it as well. You know, you don't have to be an expert at it, but you have to have a willingness to learn more about it for it to be a passion. You have to, you know, have resilience when it comes to failures with it, because you're not going to win every battle when it comes to something that you're passionate about or what your calling is. There's going to be opportunities to learn, and how you embrace those challenges and those opportunities to learn will then let you know if that's really your calling. And in today's segment of spiritual relief, we're reading from Ephesians chapter 4, verses 1 through 3. And it reads, as a prisoner for the Lord, then I urge you to live a life worthy of the calling you have received. Be completely humble and gentle. Be patient, bearing with one another in love. Make every effort to keep the unity of the Spirit through the bond of peace. And that verse really just spiritually sums up everything that I just shared. When it comes to how we are in the kingdom of God, God wants us to use our passions and our callings that He gifted us to serve others. How are we making others feel good? You know, listening to, watching, and working with us when it comes to their interactions with us. We're all serving God in some way in each and every phase of our lives, whether it be our professional or our personal life. And how we utilize our calling and how we utilize what God assigned us to do is how we become better equipped and the best servants of God that we can possibly be. So that's how God wants us to use our callings and our talents that He gifted us. So how are you using yours? Then this can be both professional and personal. And lastly, as you all know, my segment called Top Five, and I had a name for it. What did I call it? I just had a name for it. Oh, I was calling it. This segment is called "In My Opinion," and it's the top five of the subject that I'm talking about. And this one is top five things people wait to hear a callback for. And I try to come up with five of everything, but sometimes I'm a little short, so that may be your opportunity to think of a fifth. So the top five for this one that I have is People wait to hear a call back for a job opportunity, a first or second date, health updates, major purchase updates, such as, the purchase of a home or a car. And the fifth one, I couldn't come up with. So, you know, I am waiting for, and I am waiting for a call from someone at my job, but I don't think that that's what I'm waiting to hear back about is not something that is common that people wait to hear back for. So you tell me, what do you think the fifth thing is on this list? Or, is my list absurd? Do I need to, you know, re do I need to remake my list? Again, those five things are job opportunities, first or second dates, health updates, major purchase updates, and the fifth, what do you think? Thank you, as always, for your continued support of Deep Discussion and our mission to inspire a better tomorrow. It is a passion of mine to talk to you about life skills in many different facets. It is such a it's such a humbling experience and an honor, again, that God gifted me this, not only this talent but this gift. And I'm sorry, not only this talent, but the interest and the know-how to do this. It's just very humbling. And I hope that I get an opportunity to connect with you in some way, whether you want to be a guest on my podcast to talk about a topic of your interest, whether you're a business owner and you own a platform of any sort and you want to just have conversation about it. I do have a few guests lined up to come and talk to me in the next couple of weeks about their businesses or their professions. So I'm always interested in learning more about other professions and other things that people do. One of the things I really want to get, or people I'm interested in having, are human resource professionals. For some reason, that has been like one of the things that's like kind of like sneaking on my list of like top interests that I want to learn more about. Because when you're in corporate America, really in any space, but for me, corporate America has really been one of those things that has really made me say some things really, seem a little like interesting, for lack of a better term, when it comes to human resource practices and things of that nature. So if you're a human resource professional, please email me or give me a call if you'd like to be on the podcast to engage in discussion with me and help me and allow me to pick your brain a little bit about a few things, because that's really been something I've been interested in. But if you are interested in being on Deep Discussion or working with me in any way, shape, or form, I do life skills coaching. I also do personal coaching. I have 3 different types of coaching that I do from a personal standpoint. So if you're interested, please visit the website at deepdiscussion.org to learn more. I also do speaking engagements. So if you need a guest speaker or a keynote speaker for one of your events, be sure to contact me, or you can visit my website to set an appointment so we can discuss what it is you like me to partake in or participate in with you. And you can follow me again on all of the social media websites: Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and on TikTok. And also, lastly, I do poetry services. So if you are, say, you're an owner of a local bar or something, or you want to have a local talent, you would just want to have someone come and perform, I do poetry. I do live poetry and spoken word. So if you're interested in any of my services, poetic expressions is where I do poetry, and I'm starting a new greeting card service that I'm working on. That's still a work in progress, so stay tuned for that. And my live poetry performances. I do have a poetry performance that I will be doing in the next 2 weeks. I think I have it scheduled for July the 20th, I believe it is. So if you're interested, be sure to contact me for more details. It's July 20th at 7:30. And that one will be entitled, it's pretty much around the whole concept of loving yourself. Never forget to love yourself is what it's called. So be sure to reach out to me. You can email me at beinspired@deepdiscussion.org, or you can contact me via phone at 443-916-5009. Thanks again for your continued support. I look forward to connecting with you soon, and be sure to be an inspiration to all of those that are around you. Take care.